In other words, you're using the bank's money to be able to purchase more of a value asset without having to have all of the money to purchase that asset. Hey everybody, it's me, AJ Golden, self-proclaimed money nerd and personal finance geek. Welcome to Personal Finance Made Easy. I created this channel to help you win with money by making concepts such as budgeting, saving, and investing simple and easy. Today I'm going to talk about the advantages of owning rental real estate. Now, I know that I also mentioned in a previous video that I am going to discuss not just owning rental real estate, but also owning your own home. But for the context of this video, I'm going to outline all of the things that are advantages to owning rental real estate. And along with that, I will highlight the benefits of owning your own personal residence. Before I get into the video, please make sure to take a moment to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos, especially during this series as I discuss the importance of owning rental real estate and owning your own personal residence. This series is going to be about building up generational wealth by using real estate as a vehicle. So I hope that you'll subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of these videos to come. And also take a moment and hit that like button right below the video. I hope that you're liking the content that I'm providing and it is allowing you to learn more about the real estate and personal finance topics that I hope to make simple each and every week. Also, don't forget to drop a comment below as well. I'd love to interact with you, especially during this topic in this series. I know that there are going to be lots of questions. I know I had tons of questions when I first started investing in real estate. So I hope that you'll take the opportunity to drop a comment, a question, a concern, add to the video. If I missed out on something, make sure that you put it down below so that other people who are watching this video get an opportunity to see your input as well and learn from what you have to contribute. So take a moment and put a comment below. I want to make sure that I'm hearing from you. I want to be able to interact with you. I'm looking forward to this series and I really want us to be able to share the knowledge so that we can all build generational wealth. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. The top 5 tips, these are my 5 tips or advantages, I should say, of owning rental real estate. I'll go straight into the first advantage, which is rental real estate gives you cash flow. Cash flow. Now, I know a lot of people want to have some sort of a side hustle. They want to bring in extra income. And the cool thing about rental real estate is that it gives you cash flow. You have income coming in from tenants who are paying your mortgage. And if you evaluate the property correctly, which I'm going to show you how to do in upcoming videos, then you'll be able to have additional revenue being generated or cash flow coming in over and above the amount that you have to pay in expenses by owning this property. So cash flow essentially is what's left over after you've paid all of your expenses and your tenants have paid that monthly rental income to you. So I'll show you some important things actually in next week's video on how you need to calculate that cash flow. I'll show you exactly what you need to include in your operating expenses so that you don't miss out on any surprise expenses. There's not going to be any surprises when you purchase that first rental real estate property. So first benefit, first advantage is that you will have cash flow coming in on that rental property. The second advantage is the tax benefit. There are so many tax benefits or tax advantages, I should say, to owning real estate. Now, this is applicable not only for rental real estate, but this is also applicable for you owning your own home. This is one of the advantages that you will have over renting, is that you'll have the opportunity to depreciate your home, which will allow you to get a tax break on your taxes. Now, I am not a tax advisor, so I'm not gonna go into detail about taxes. I will talk about what I know are the advantages and what are some of the advantages that I've seen from my taxes, but I am not a tax professional. I am not a tax advisor. If you want to really understand the true benefits and advantages that are applicable to your situation, make sure that you're consulting with a tax advisor and they will lay it all out for you. But that's the second advantage to owning rental property and a primary residence as well, is that you'll be able to take advantage of tax benefits. The next benefit is the fact that you are getting principal pay down, or the tenants that you have put into that property are paying down your mortgage on your behalf. What? So they are paying down the principal on that property so that you're building equity. So that's the top advantage. You have the privilege of having equity buildup in that property, and you're not having to pay for that equity buildup. The tenants are paying for that. So that's a great advantage, and it provides so many other supplemental advantages, which I list one on my list later on, but it provides so many other supplemental advantages in the fact that you're having principal pay down. And we'll talk about some of those advantages a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned. The next benefit is that you get to take advantage of the fact that you are holding on to real property, real estate that generally appreciates in value. So the advantage is that you're going to have a vehicle, property, but an investment vehicle that appreciates in value. It is getting more valuable the longer that you hold on to it. I gave an example in some of my previous videos where I've purchased a property in cash for $30,000. That was one of my, not my first investment property, but I think maybe my second or third investment property. And I purchased it for $30,000, and today it's worth $60,000. That is appreciation. So I've owned that property for, I want to say, maybe 5 years. So I purchased it for $30,000, and in just under 5 years, it has doubled in value. That's the benefit of having appreciation. Now, what can appreciation get you? Appreciation can get you several things, and that's my next advantage, is that you will have the ability to use the wealth of the equity that you're generating, either in principal paydown, like I talked about earlier, or in appreciation. You can use the equity that you're building in that property to borrow against and purchase other properties so that you can allow it to build up your portfolio. I've done that on some of my properties, and I've done it in other ways on my properties, which I'll talk about also in a future video. Things such as a 1031 exchange, where you sell the property, you get the proceeds from the property, the profit from that property, and you're able to roll that into another property of like value without having to pay any capital gains taxes. Now that's a more complex topic, so like I said, I'll talk about that as we get further into the video series and you learn more about real estate and these terms start to become more familiar to you. But I wanted to highlight here that a major advantage that you have is the fact that you are gaining appreciation in this property. That's building your overall net worth, and it's giving you an opportunity to leverage the equity that you have in that property to purchase other properties. It's not unlike playing Monopoly. In Monopoly, where you buy the little house, and then as you go around and you get more money and people start to pay the rent because they land on your property on Monopoly, and you start to make more money from that, then you start to buy another property and you build up and build up. You get 4 properties. By the time you get the 4th property, you can trade that in and buy a hotel. That's what we're doing with real estate, and that's the fun, exciting part about it. That's what I like about real estate versus investing in the stock market, which I do invest in the stock market as well, but that's the thing that I like about real estate, is that you're gaining appreciation and equity, and you're doing it with leveraged money. In other words, you're using the bank's money to be able to purchase more of a value asset without having to have all of the money to purchase that asset. That's the beauty of using or buying real estate as an investment vehicle. So as you can see, I'm really excited about real estate. I love that as an investment vehicle, but I can't give you all of these pros without giving you some of the cons as well. So let's talk about what are the disadvantages? What are some of the things that we should look out for because we own rental real estate property? Well, one of the things is, and this may be one of the most obvious, is that you've got to deal with tenants. This might be the thing that makes you think,
I do not want to deal with real estate because I don't want to deal with tenants.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of headache. But let me tell you, rest assured, I'm not dealing with tenants every day. I have 8 rental units. My wife and I own 8 rental units, and we don't talk to not one tenant because we have property managers who are responsible for taking care of the actual property itself and that tenant management. They're taking care of the tenant for us. Now, we do have to pay for property managers, but that money is part of the expenses that I'll show you how to calculate that come out of the rental income. So really, my tenants are paying for my property manager. So that's one of the downsides, is that you're having to deal with tenants. The other thing is you'll have to deal with repairs and maintenance. So you are owning property, and just like your own property, that's one of the things that you have to consider when you buy your own house, is that you're gonna have to do repairs and maintenance. You're responsible for it. You can't call a landlord and expect somebody to come in and take care of your water heater for you. You're the one that's responsible for the water heater. You're the one that's responsible for the leaking roof. You're the one that's responsible for the AC unit that may break. And these things do happen. I have had to replace water heaters and upgrade AC units and repair roofs and replace roofs. That is an expense that we call a capital expense that you will have to take care of by owning real estate. But as long as you're setting aside that money, when you're getting that rental income, you're setting aside money. You're not just spending that money. You're setting it aside because you know at some point in time that's going to come up. And I'll show you how to calculate that into your operating budget for your rental properties. So all of these things that are cons, as long as you mitigate those, as long as you have some way of addressing those things, they don't have to be cons. Now, the other thing that you have to deal with by owning rental real estate is that you may have to deal with some vacancies. Now, this is a true issue. If for some reason your tenant doesn't want to renew their lease, they want to move out, and you have a little bit of trouble getting someone else into that property, then you are still responsible for that mortgage payment at that point. So these vacancies, the time in which your rental property does not have a tenant, are eating into your profit and eating into your bottom line. But again, rest assured, what we do to make sure that we take care of that is that we build in a vacancy buffer in our everyday expenses. So we set aside a percentage of our income so that we can cover those vacancies whenever they occur. Now, we can also make sure that we're buying in really good neighborhoods. You'll have to develop your strategy, and that determines your risk tolerance for the type of neighborhood that you want to purchase in. Again, we'll talk about that later, but you'll determine what types of properties you want to buy and what likelihood of having vacancies you're going to have. So that's something that we can make sure that you're covered for, so that that doesn't have to be an issue as you're renting out your property. And that's really it. Those are some of the things that I've come up with that are both advantages to owning real estate and some disadvantages, if you want to call it that. I don't really think it's a disadvantage. The pros outweigh the cons, but those are some of the things that you have to consider when you're wanting to purchase rental real estate. What are some of the things that you can think of? If you're an investor already and you have rental real estate, please let me know in the comments, what are some of the things that you've encountered as a pro or a con with investing in real estate? And maybe you don't have real estate today, but you're a little bit worried about something specific. What is that thing that you're worried about in purchasing rental real estate? Put that in the comments below and we can address it. Let's talk about it and see how we can determine how to cover those concerns that you may have. Now, I want to remind you, when I purchased my first rental real estate property, I was still living in an apartment, but it didn't stop me from purchasing that property. And I still own that very property today. It has consistently brought in rental income for the last 2008, 12 years. It has consistently brought in income for the last 12 years. So I hope that you are wanting to get involved in rental real estate. I hope that you continue to follow along in the series, and I hope that these advantages have given you something to think about in making your decision as to whether or not you want to invest in real estate. So until next time, you keep living on purpose, pursue your passion, and get the gold.